Hello Stampers! I've got a wonderful fall project for you today, complete with shiny leaf trees. I'm going to use the Beauty of Friendship stamp set, and by stamping our trees in different colors and different heights, we're going to get that whole woods look going. So are you ready to start this fall project? Oh, one thing to mention, this card is just a fun fold. It's a simple fun fold. So I like this fun fold just because I like to do big panels, and this gives me that room to do that. So we're going to get started here. The first panel that we're going to do is our main image panel, and we're going to use a 3.5 by 4.5 piece of basic white. All the measurements you can find down below this video under the description. Just press show more, and you'll also be able to find all the product links down there also. And we're going to start by stamping our, there's a couple different images for the leaves. Let me just say that. One is very detailed and the other one is more solid. We're going to start with the detailed stamp. I want this stamp to be darker in color, so we're going to use Cajun Craze for that. And this will be more like the middle of our tree where it would naturally be darker. So we're going to use Cajun Craze, and we're going to emboss these. So I'm going to get my Versamark out. Now, you're going to laugh at my Versamark pad. It is so stained. This is the one that I always use just for this emboss resist technique. That way I don't have to clean my stamp in between. But if you have a brand new Versamark pad, you're going to want to clean your stamp in between stamped images just to keep it pristine. And so what we're going to do, that Versamark is going to make our ink tacky. So we're going to load our stamp with Versamark, load it with our ink color, and then stamp it, and then heat emboss it. So I'm going to load mine with Versamark and load it with Cajun Craze, and then I'm going to stamp it at the top of the cardstock, and I want the tops of my trees to go off of the paper. So there's one, and see, I'm going right back on my Versamark pad. This is when you'll clean yours if you want to keep your Versamark pad nice and clean. Then load it with Cajun Craze, and then stamp it again. We're going to stamp this about the same height. Okay, so there is the starts of our trees, and we're going to get our embossing powder out here. I keep mine in a tub. This is clear embossing powder. And I'm just going to load this up. Tap it off, get a good whack on the back. Okay. So I'm going to get my heat tool out here. And we're going to let it warm up just for a second. But when we go to heat this, we're going to heat it just until it turns shiny. You don't want to heat it anymore, otherwise the embossing will sink into the paper, and that is not what we want. Okay, so we have that all embossed. Now we're going to pull out some pumpkin pie ink, and we're going to get our stamp out that is more solid. This is the solid leaves. So we're going to stamp this over our Cajun Craze ones. So we're going to load with Versamark. Load with pumpkin pie. And we're going to stamp these over our first images. This gives you that great multicolored leaf look, because the inside of your tree will now look darker to heat emboss those images. This is such a fun project just to watch how it builds. And I love embossing. Embossing was one of the very first techniques I learned, and I was just amazed. So we're going to emboss these real quick, just until they turn shiny. Okay, so that's all embossed. Next we got to put a tree trunk in here, right? And the reason I put the leaves in first, because I don't want my branches to be on top of my leaves. I want my leaves to be on top of my branches. So with the emboss resist technique, now I can emboss this tree trunk with its branches on top of this, and it will melt off when I go to emboss it. It will melt off the leaves. You see, it's like a miracle. And we're going to do this in early espresso. I'm going to load my image with Versamark, load it with early espresso, and then I'm going to stamp it so just the bottom branches are showing below the tree. So there's one. Load it again with Versamark, early espresso. Okay. There's our second one. All right. So I'll put that away. We're done with our Versamark. So now I'm going to heat emboss these. See how you can see some of the branches on top of the leaves? Well, as you emboss this tree trunk, they're going to disappear from on top and sink behind your leaves. Okay, I'm going to check here real quick just for some strays. And only heating till it turns shiny. See, that is just melting right off of those leaves. So this technique you're going to build from front to back. So just remember that as you're building other scenes. Okay, there's our tree trunks. And our leaves are on our tree branches, not the other way around. And you can see parts of the tree branches in here, which is lovely. So there's our embossed part of this project. Now we're going to get some color in here. Get rid of my embossing powder. So we're going to start. We're going to rip a Post-it note here. I have a 3x5 inch Post-it note, and I'm going to this is the sticky edge, and I'm just going to rip just a little bit off of the sticky edge, just so we don't have like a super straight line in our background. And I'm going to go, I'm going to say a good inch below our trees here, our leaves of our trees, I'm going to say. So we've got about an inch there. And I'm going to get my Crumb Cake ink out and a blending brush. I'm going to blend Crumb Cake all over here. Okay. I'm going to get some soft suede going. Using our blending brush also. I want the soft suede down here along the bottom. Right where the Post-it note meets the cardstock there. I love this light area in here, so try to keep that if you can. Okay, so soft suede. Now I want to get really dark at the top, so I'm going to switch brushes here, and this is early espresso, and I really want to get really dark here. The top of our trees. I'm going to give it that dark forest look. Here we go. So now I'm going to get our crumb cake back out, and we're going to use our tree trunk again. And this time I'm going to load it with crumb cake, and when I'm going to stamp off once before stamping on the cardstock. So I stamped off once, stamp on. I just want some distant trees, and by really lightening these colors, that's what it starts looking like. You can do them close together. Just try not to have them all spaced the same, else they start looking like little soldiers standing there. Looks very unnatural because, you know, things are all kind of willy-nilly in the forest, right? Okay, so there is that. So now we're going to take this Post-it note off. And we're going to put a straight Post-it note on, and I'm going to put it just so it's under the tree trunk. I have this one a little lower, so that's the level I'm going at. And try to put your Post-it note on straight, because we're getting ready to put some water in, and you don't want your water like going downhill. You know what I mean? So it looks like it's going to run right off the paper. So try to have that straight, and it helps if you line it up against this side here. So we have that. So now I want to stamp some darker trees. I'm going to use that same image, and we're going to go to soft suede. Remember, these are done in early espresso. So I want these to be a little lighter, so we're going to soft suede, and then those were crumb cake stamped off once. So these will come down a little further. Try not to stamp them on top of your lighter trees. Let's see. About right there. You want them a little higher. See, I'm stamping them higher. There we go. And now we're going to go back to our crumb cake and our blending brush. And we're going to blend crumb cake in here. We're working our way down. Okay, and then we're going to go to soft suede. It's all about layering these colors to get these, to create this scene. And when you have your blending brush, you can absolutely just blend over where you stamp those trees in soft suede. If you blend over it, it just wipes them off of that embossing where it showed. So now we're back to normal hair. Okay. All right, so soft suede, we're going to go ahead and put some in here, like half of this ground area. We're leaving it a little light back here where that crumb cake is showing. Okay, now we want to get pretty dark, so we're going to go back to early espresso. Put some early espresso right along the bottom of this area, unmasked area we have going here. So you can use a back and forth motion right at this post-it note line. Get nice and dark. There we go, our scene's coming along, right? See how that looks like the trees are in a distance back there? I just love that. It's so easy to do. You just have to think about color value and the strength of your color. Just get lighter in the back, and as you come forward, you're getting darker with your trees. Okay, so now we just need to put our water in. So we're going to take this off and we're going to flip this around and we're going to put it back on, and we want like a 1/16 of an inch here of this darkness showing below the post-it note. That's so we don't get a ghost line when we're working. If we've covered it up clear to that white area, when we took this post-it note off, you'd have a white line in there. It's just, you just have to do this. Take my word for it. Okay, so we're going to go back to our crumb cake. We're going to do the same colors here for our water. So crumb cake, all of this unmasked area for our water. Then we'll go to soft suede. You're seeing a pattern here, right? We're using all of our colors. It just looks great when you can use those colors over and over. I'm going to leave a lighter area, like right here, because we have that light area up here. So I want to leave it down here because this is our water side. So with our reflection, yeah, doesn't have to be perfect. Just try to leave a light area in here. And if you don't do that, it's no biggie. Okay, so that was our soft suede. We want to get really dark, so we're going to turn this. The best way to do this is to turn it around this way, and we're going to put early espresso now at this line. I want to get pretty dark, just like we did above. I'm gonna get nice and dark here. This helps. We're going to put some water, some white water lines in for some sparkle, and that's going to show up really well on that early espresso. Okay, so now we need some trees put in. Okay, so we stamped our trees up here. Now we're going to do them upside down, coming this way. So really what I'm concentrating on is these the early espresso ones, and then we're going to do some crumb cake. The early espresso ones we're going to show up here. We're going to use soft suede, because in your reflection ones you want them lighter than your original images. So we used early espresso at the top, so we're going to use soft suede here to reflect these two main trees. So I'm going to go up and meet that tree, just overstamp the bottom of that trunk. Okay, so it's lined up, and this is soft suede. So I'm going to, for this one, I'm going to, because it doesn't come down and meet that line, I'm going to stamp it just a little bit below the line. Okay, so that looks like a reflection there. Now for our other 3 trees, we're going to use Crumb Cake. We're not going to stamp off or anything. We're just going to use straight Crumb Cake here. And just mimic where your trees are. So this one's a little higher than that. So we're going to go there. And that one's higher yet. So really we're just showing the bases of those trunks there. All right. So that gives us just a little bit of a reflection look. So now we're going to get a white chalk marker out. And I'm going to put some little lines in here, okay? You just want to make sure your lines are parallel to this line here. You don't want any downward strokes. These are like little ripples in our water, little shine here. They're just little straight lines across. Try not to put a pattern in. If you do them quickly, you won't get that pattern going. Okay, so there's our little water lines. All right, and guess what? You are done with your main image panel when you get to this point. So here we go. We're going to, for this card, I did some stamping on the inside. I'm going to set that panel aside for now. For the inside of this card, I just wanted to do a little stamping here and just show a leaf. And I put a sentiment in also. It says, "You truly inspire me." There's so many people out there that inspire my artwork that I think I might just use these cards to send to them. So we're going to use some images out of the Gorgeous Leaves stamp set. This is a new stamp set that's in the July-December holiday catalog. So we're going to use this spotted image and some Crumb Cake ink on a Crumb Cake panel. This panel goes inside. It's 4 by 5.25. I'm just going to stamp this along the bottom. You don't want to go too high up because you don't want it showing above this piece here when you have your card all put together. So that was with Crumb Cake. Then we're going to stamp just a leaf image with Cajun Craze. I'm going to put it right down here. I just think it's perfect for this panel here to coordinate with it. And then our sentiment I want to stamp in Early Espresso just so it really stands out. And the sentiment come out of the Beauty of Friendship stamp set. Okay, now we're ready to put our card together. Like I said, this is such an easy fun fold card. Super easy. So we have a panel here that we're going to put our main image panel on. This panel is 3 5/8 by 4 5/8, so it's just 1/8 inch bigger than our main image panel. So I'm going to glue this panel on here. Okay, set that aside for a minute. Okay, and this is our back panel. So we have our back panel, and then this panel goes inside, but first we need to cut this piece. And this piece here is 2.75 by 4.75, and it's scored at 4.25. So we just have this one little score line here that we need to do. And I'm going to use Stampin' Seal Plus for this. I love it's such strong adhesive. It's great for these fun fold cards. So I just put a little strip of it there. If you get some extra, just fold it back onto the fold there. And we're going to line this up with the bottom of the card, and that score line is right at the edge of the cardstock here. There we go. And then we can glue our inside in. Add some love. There we go. So that's that panel, and then we need to put this one on. You can tweak this panel here if it's a little off. I just fold it to where I want it. Get a score tool out here. There we go. That way it's not crooked. And then this is going to go on here. So I just kind of take a look at this and figure out how much is on this panel here, because you don't want to put glue at the top of this panel, just at the bottom. So I'm just adhering the bottom of the panel on. That'd be a catastrophe putting it on the top. That would defeat your whole fun fold. So here's your card. It's all finished. I hope you're inspired today to get inky and get you some fall creations done. These are two perfect sets to work with. So I hope you're inspired. Thanks for joining me. Bye.